we talked about President Biden at length. We also talked about former President Trump, and one of my colleagues has been tracking the investigations and lawsuits into the former president, and the last I checked, they were upwards of over 40. So what do you think this says, that these two are the front runners for the nation's highest office?
It says a lot and nothing good about American politics. The first thing it says is that we are, at least at the level of organized politics, very much divided into two parties. And what's new, I think, Brittany, you're far younger than I am, but our politics used to not be so ideological. Now it's deeply ideological. And that means if you're on the other side, you increasingly are not only viewed as wrong, but as somehow beneath moral contempt. I mean, I see this all the time. You see Republicans thinking that Democrats, their views on abortion or their views on schooling or whatever it is, they're just beneath contempt. And you see Democrats seeing the same thing about Republicans. And I see it all the time. And they're looking, I mean, it's just really hard. I write a lot, and I am quite willing to write about flaws on both sides. I don't view my job when I write op-eds and the like as looking for the fallout and saying, if it hurts, quote, my candidate, then I won't write it. And if it helps my candidate, then I will. I don't do that. I try to write truthfully and fairly. Okay? And that leads to people who sort of generally taking your side, my side, on a lot of issues, saying, I just don't want to receive your emails anymore, you're contemptible, this and that and the other. I may be contemptible, but not for that reason.
I want to quote your op-ed, another quote, and then I want you to react a little bit and elaborate for us. You write this: you don't have to choose between the allegations against Biden and Trump. And I think that speaks perfectly to your point, because I think people who might be Republicans won't speak out against the former president. Likewise, with Democrats, won't speak out against the current president. Can you elaborate on what you meant by that?
Well, yes. I mean, if you're an elected official, or if you're running for office, you really have very strong incentives to remain within your silo. I mean, look at how many of the top candidates running, top candidates may be a loose word, running on the Republican side for the presidential nomination, are very reluctant to attack Trump. That's partly because they know Trump will attack them back. And just by calling them names, he won't necessarily make any real arguments against them. He'll just say, you'll say, well, you've stolen money from my company, and he'll say, well, you're just ugly. You know, I mean, what kind of an argument is that? But they're also really worried that people who support Trump will go along with him, and that if they get past him, they need those votes. They need them if they're running for Congress. They need them if they're running for governor. They need them if they're running for representative. And the same is true on the Democratic side. Vote against Nancy Pelosi, and she cuts off your money from the Democratic National Committee in the past when she was the head of the House Democrats. So, I mean, there's a lot of incentive to stick with it. But that doesn't mean that the people who write editorials for the New York Times, for the Washington Post, for Forbes.com, and all the others, that they have to remain within their silo. I think it's their obligation to have integrity on these issues and not just say what they think is true, but pick a variety of issues, not just the issues that favor their candidate.